Alright, welcome to a very rare, very early morning video, but I want to show something. So I got charged 54 cents for AWS for and my account number's up here. I'm okay with showing my account number because I'm going to try to delete this whole account. I don't want any more charges. So I don't know where. I guess the charges are just going to be automatically put on my card, but yeah, I'm pretty frustrated with that because I did everything I could to try to use the free tier services, and obviously that didn't work because I was charged. Now it was only 50 cents, but I had no way to predict this number. They would say, "Oh, it's so easy. You just use the AWS calculator or whatever." Well, I tried to do that and I failed. I got charged. So imagine you're in a big business, you try to calculate everything and you get charged $20,000. It could ruin your whole business. You have no idea. You were not expecting that charge at all. And then not only that, you go into try to pay the bill or try to cancel your account, and it's not sending you the multi-factor authentication code. There's nothing being sent to me for the code, so I can't even get in there and pay it. Or so I can see a breakdown of all the charges here if I could get my multi-factor authentication code, but it's not sending me one. So not only am I getting an unexpected charge that I took great pains to try not to get, when I try to log in to my root account to look at it, they won't send me my multi-factor authentication code, so I can't even get in. So I guess I'll try troubleshoot MFA. And then okay, so I think what's going on with that is okay, yeah. So it comes from my phone. So okay, I know what to do with that. Okay, so that part I was just confused. It's just kind of frustrating, and then I'm up early today because I went to bed like very, very, very early. Let's see here. Yeah, so I need to put in my um, multi factor authentication code. Yeah, so it looks like I get charge notices on my card. So it looks like they just automatically put it through to my card. But it may seem like, oh, it's just 50 cents. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is, imagine if it were $1,000. Imagine if it were $10,000. Imagine if it were $100,000. Um, I had no way to predict this charge. It completely caught me off guard by surprise. I did everything I could to try to avoid it, and I didn't avoid it. So here's the cost. Here's the grand total: 50 cents. Just for learning purposes, that's fine. But we can see, we should be able to see the charges by service. So here it is. Yeah, Route 53. So any DNS hosted zone is going to incur charges, which makes sense. But and then here's my free tier services. So we get 9 requests for those, zero. So I used multiple services in AWS. I used the key management service, which I've never even heard of that service. I don't even think it's in here. A key management service? What is that? And then I used Route 53, which is a well known service. So um, for the first 25 hosted zones, it only costs 50 cents. Um, so I paid for a hosted zone. I paid 50 cents for it. Um, And yeah, it's just not acceptable. I didn't know that I would get charged. I didn't know when I would get charged. It looks like it's monthly. So I really just want to shut this account down and make sure I don't incur any more charges. So I'm going to click close account. And now it looks like my closure request is submitted. Um, Yeah, and I'm okay with paying a little bit for education, especially to like build my own personal site or something like that. But what I'm not okay with is being surprised by the bills, and it was only 50 cents, which I'm happy to just pay for and move on. But what will it be next time? Like, and what would it be if you were working in a large enterprise? It's just being surprised by charges is something I'm not okay with. So you know what? I'm gonna leave some feedback. I'm gonna say extremely dissatisfied. I'm gonna say strongly disagree. Um, I and for this, neither disagree or disagree. And I'm gonna say totally surprised by this charge. Would have liked clearer understanding of the fact that I was doing something that would incur charges regardless of how small. Also would like to know why the charges would be incurred. What aspect of the service needed a payment? So like we can think of that, if you spin up some compute in a lab, they got to pay for electricity. They got to pay for maybe some labor associated with maintaining the equipment. They have to pay for the recoup their upfront costs for the equipment. So like, I'm not saying that I'm just unwilling to pay. I'm saying that I don't want to be surprised by what it would cost. I'll agree with that. Strongly disagree. And I'll say again, totally surprised by the charges. Have no idea how to avoid them. I'm trying to use free tier for the purpose of learning, but I failed to understand how to avoid charges or to know the amount I could expect to pay and when. All right, so I completed the survey. I submitted my account for removal, but I don't know. So I'm okay with showing this because I submitted it for removal. Um, I think I'm okay with showing this now. Maybe not, but yeah, I think that's it for this video. Yeah, very distressing to just be charged without realizing it. I think cloud is that's one of the downsides of cloud. When you this pay as you go, and I'll show up Paint for this. So the pay as you go model is you have utilization. So let's say that you have an e-commerce site, so you're making sales on your let me get this. Yeah, so you're making sales on your e-commerce site, and then Christmas comes and you make all kinds of sales. Christmas doesn't happen, it levels off, and then maybe like another holiday comes up, Valentine's Day, now you have more sales. So with regular pricing, first of all, you pay a large upfront cost for all your equipment and everything like that. But then afterwards, you just have the costs to maintain your equipment, which are a flat line cost. And then in addition to that, you have the capacity of your equipment. So the problem is you have to make a fixed predetermined decision for how much capacity you want your equipment to have. And if you make that decision low, as is made here, then when it comes to big spikes, which is your highest revenue generating day, you're going to miss out on that whole chunk of revenue because you won't have the capacity to process those payments and run that site. So you're going to lose a lot of money on those days because your capacity is too low. But on the other days, so that's the other thing. Now, if you set it too high, and it could even be set too high here because most of the year is right here. Now you have all this extra compute power that you're not using, so you lost money here. You put all this money into your startup costs, and your startup costs aren't, you spent too much, and you just kind of threw money away. And I think anyone can relate to that who's bought like a big gaming PC. It's like, oh, I have all this power from my gaming PC, and I rarely ever game, and I rarely ever need it. I could have bought a computer that cost half this much, played the games at all the same settings, and saved the money. So I think that's a very relatable one. So pay as you go pricing, first of all, you get rid of this whole upfront cost, and you just use what they did. And then you pay based on what your what you need. So for here, you're paying very little, but then up here now you pay more as your capacity, as your demand increases. So I'm still a bit on the fence with that because it sounds good, but you have to run the numbers. I mean, because it just, in my opinion, it's just not automatically the case that this is a better way. Like those flaws, it's like that example of paying for twice the compute you need on your gaming PC. You can run your game out all the same settings, but if you paid half, and now you have all this extra capacity that you don't use. Well, it's not that you don't use it. I mean, especially if you're a tinkerer or like a computer science guy, like you could spin up machine learning models. Like you can do so much with like a lot of extra compute. Like it's not bad to have more compute, especially if it's just like, a one-time startup cost. Now, when it comes to like standing up your own data center and like dealing with the low level power requirements and stuff like that, I guess it does make sense in that regard. But Um, yeah, my concern with this model is just that the numbers won't work out, and these times where you have these big spikes, now you have a big spike in how much it costs you on these times. So it might even be better for it to go down a little bit, and then you still get the spike up to here, but now when it goes up, this doesn't increase here, the amount you spend for the more utilization. So you just get to profit on these big spikes instead of having your costs rise with them and your profit margins remaining the same. So I don't know. I've spent a lot of time learning cloud. I feel like it would make sense in some situations, but in other situations, especially just for learning cloud, it probably doesn't make sense. And we can see I got this very lucky to get a very low charge now, but especially because a lot of these are, you get a certain number of requests. There's a certain trial period, so this could have easily been a $50 charge, and I would have no way to have known that was coming in advance. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to show that, because in my opinion, this is why cloud is good for some situations, but probably not good for all situations, because especially if you make that decision to have too much resources, you can use those resources for other things. Like this idea of there being idle resources, I think is not necessarily, having idle resources, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing all the time. And then the idea of not having enough resources, well, then you didn't put in those extra costs, and when you get these spikes, now it's just all profit up to the point where it's cut off. So your costs don't rise along with it. So you get the whole difference is in just pure profits. So I don't know. I think it's important to learn about cloud, but I don't think traditional networking is done yet, because, as I said, the pay-as-you-go pricing, as much as they want to say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, you can end up with these charges that you didn't expect. All right, so that's it for this short impromptu video. See you in the next one.